So thanks so much. Okay, let's continue on, guys, with some more cards. We've got Warlock that's coming up here. Let me bring them up. And I feel like they came really hard out the gate with with Warlock, but we've got a couple more that they announced. Starting off with Corrupting Mist. It's a 2-mana spell, rare. Corrupt every minion, destroy them at the start of your turn. So my initial reactions when I looked at this, I was like, okay, how is this, similar to Doomsayer? For some reason, that was like the analogy that I first went to. And then the more and more I thought about it, I was like, this is nothing like Doomsayer. This is much worse than Doomsayer, at least for me. So do you guys think this is good? Do you see it being played, Noxious?
It's hard to say. I mean, it might be one of these cards that ends up being good by virtue of other defensive tools being playable, so they can protect themselves behind like a wall of sorts, and they jam this.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with it is that it lets your opponent, like, the point of Doomsayer is to get the initiative back when the guy just chooses to pass on it. Worst case scenario, it heals you. So this lets you take another wave of damage from whatever is there, and then develop on top of it. So yes, they lose whatever board. Like, imagine Zoo has this, right? They have like 5/1 drops. You jam Corrupting Mist, you take 12 damage, and then they play a Doom Guard, and that Doom Guard isn't affected by Corrupting Mist, and that's what makes it
Right.
more difficult to justify playing. But maybe it's good enough. Maybe someone will find a sick shell for it. Maybe the game will be slow enough that it's good. But
Well, one thing to mention too is it's corrupt every minion. It's not just corrupt enemy minions too.
right, it includes yours as well. So
Yeah.
you could technically use it as a forceful way to trigger death rattles the opponent doesn't want to trigger.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Ray?
Well, if you have minions,
No, this is gonna be good.
if you have minions in play, think about a 2-mana spell that gave all your minions taunt.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
This
I
is
see what you mean.
strictly worse than that because they can also kill you if that's a better play for them.
Right. That's true.
And a 2-mana spell that would give your minions taunt is super terrible. So you'd never play that. So in the scenario where you have minions, card is unplayable. So that means that you only have to consider the options when you don't have minions and they do have minions. So they have stuff, you don't have stuff. Probably means you're dead in a turn because Hearthstone. And you play Corrupting Mist. They put you down to like 5 life, and then they play another dude that's unaffected by this. And you're still in the same position you were before, where they have stuff and you don't have stuff, except now you're dead. So I think this is just unplayable in every scenario, and I can't think of a situation where it would be good, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I give them a little credit for it's a different way of approaching removing boards and removing minions from the game. Given that there's an extra turn in there, and like you said, it's like turning your minions into taunts and things like that.
Actually, it doesn't give them pseudo taunt. Yeah, like you guys said, it corrupts your own guys, right?
Oh,
So
yeah, that's true. It dies anyways. Yeah, so that's true. He just hits face.
This is awful.
It is pretty bad, dude.
I think the
more and more
reason
you
they
think of
had
it.
was people were playing Corruption and Reno Lock, right? And the card did okay, but the thing with Corruption is that usually as Reno Lock, you're using it when there's 1 minion on the board, so it acts as like a Siphon Soul with a delayed turn. The issue is Corrupting Mist is saying, all right, man, you're in that spot. The guy has 5 things that you want to corrupt individually. Like, I would never cast a Mass Corruption if you gave it to me in that spot because I'm dead on the following turn. I need an AoE.
Yeah.
And this doesn't act, unfortunately, like it doesn't serve the same purpose as Corruption. It might work on, say, 2 minions, right? Like, there's a type of thing where they go like turn 1 or turn 2. They have like two dudes. Very early in the game, you jam this, and that gets you like into turn 3 and 4. But like as a mid game to late game removal, I think this falls a bit short. But it does give you back. It almost guarantees you get to turn 3. Like you play Quest turn 1, Surrender Tempo. Turn 2, they play like a second minion, Corrupting Mist. Then turn 3, you jam a 3-drop. You can start your curve a bit later because this helps you get there, but it's not going to be like a good mid game to late game push. I don't think. I really don't.
It's not tempo changing at all. That's the biggest thing I think for me.
But it's also helpful that if you think about using Corrupting Mist first into developing minions on the back of it, like that works. You can find maybe a spot where that's a thing, but I think it's going to be kind of niche in application. We'll see. We'll see what can come of it, but I think it's going to be in conjunction with the quest, if anything.
I hope at least the animation is cool for it. Like
Nah,
a
man,
mist would be pretty nice.
No.
What? No, come on. It'd be kind of a cool, this mist that kind of sneaks onto the board from the sides or something, and then fits. That's like the only thing. I mean, the artwork's kind of neat, right? All right, so let's go move on to the next one. It's 4 mana, 4/4 beast, Ravenous Pterodax. Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion, adapt twice, and this is a common card. Yeah, what do you guys think? Noxious?
Well, adapt twice is good
Mhm.
on a just on about anything. The issue is like it's okay. We saw a 7-drop earlier that was unfortunately not statted very competitively baseline, but this is okay. And if you can make it a 4-mana 6/6, it's all right. If you can make it a 5/5 with Divine Shield, it's pretty good. You can make it a 4/7 with Taunt, it's pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with it that make it viable. My issue is, what are you destroying? Imp Gang Boss is rotating out. You don't have fodder coming up on turn 3 based on my understanding of the current Hearthstone. So you would have to play this in, like, it would be like a more situational play than just sacrificial stuff. Maybe you can play Abusive Sergeant in your deck, get rid of the fodder and make this guy better, because you are converting 1/1s into much higher power
Yeah.
overall. So I think that's when that card is good, when you're playing a bunch of fodder buffs or leftovers. So I like that. I like the card.
Ray?
I think this is the only 4-drop they've ever made besides Defender and possibly Gormok that is actually good enough for Zoo. I think it's pretty strong, and
Okay.
it depends on if the supporting staff's there. Like for Wild, I would definitely play 2 of this card. I think it's nuts. But for well, actually, maybe not, because Woodwalker's better, and you might want Argus for Taunt. But point is, it's good. It's just a matter of like, what are the earlier curve minions, and is there like an Ruby and Egg type thing that you can eat?
Yeah, that's the biggest
So
thing.
I think, without seeing the rest of the cards, as of right now, it's a little bit underpowered, because right now all we have is Possessed Villager and Forbidden Ritual, and some other. I mean, whatever you get off Dark Peddler, you can eat. But it's also like, I don't know, it's just such a good payoff if there's anything that you can consistently trigger it with. Like if there's one more Imp Gang Boss type thing, this card becomes pretty interesting at that point. I mean, maybe even just play like Harvest Golem again or something like that.
Mhm.
I think this card's solid for Zoo. Outside of Zoo, I wouldn't consider it in anything. Also, Curator draws it, which might actually matter now that you have this and Clutch Mother.
That's
Yeah,
that's
that's
one
a
thing to
good
mention
point.
generally, I think, across the board for all the classes, is that a lot of these new cards are beasts. So Curator, I think, becomes an option, at least. It's a little expensive still, but at least it's an option to draw cards for every single class.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has a Void Terror feel to it. It's really hard. Yeah, it, like you said, it just depends on what you're playing alongside of it.
Runic Egg. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
get-
Runic
let's
Egg,
let-
okay,
They're never
okay.
gonna pop it, so might as well just capitalize on it. This
That's
guy,
true.
good big dude.
It might be. Yeah, it might be the best way to pop that card.
Dude,
That card is.
Let's go. You can play Corrupting Mist on your Runic Egg or pop it with Ravenous
God, that's
Pterodax.
terrible. All right.
There you go, man.
All
Give
right,
some
all
draw
right.
to Warlocks.
Honestly, I think this might be why they took Power Overwhelming out of the
Yes.
set.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
You
sure.
can
Yep.
Stealth Wind Fury this and just wreck them.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
That would be so disgusting. Oh man.
Okay, let's see. We've got Paladin cards next. All right, the Paladin quest came out recently, even though the reward was leaked a long time ago. But let me bring it up here. All right, I think the best thing to do is just to start with the quest, and the quest is the last. Was it Kaleidosaur? Quest casts 6 spells on your minions. Reward Galvadon. Galvadon's a 5 mana 5/5 beast. Battlecry, adapt 5 times. Okay, so let's talk about this, because this is, I think, was a huge topic when it first came out, and I think most people's reaction was, I mean, cast 6 spells on my minions? Paladins have questionable buff spells right now. So either I think people are thinking that they're going to come out with better buffs, or there's something that I think majority of people are missing. So Reynad, what's your thought on this?
I mean, Galvadon, first of all, just kills them, right? When you adapt 5 times, you just
Yeah.
Well, unless they have like evolve or devolve or some type of.
Oh yeah,
you know,
Devolve. That's right.
But I mean, like, yeah, the point is you Stealth Wind Fury and they die. Like,
it's a
almost
finishing
always,
move. Yes,
right?
it's definitely a finishing move.
So it's not a value guy. It's like the percentage that it kills them is pretty high, like probably over 75. So
Okay.
when the payoff is like 5 mana win the game, you really have to consider how hard is the quest actually to trigger. And in this case, I think not that hard. I've been building Pants decks on stream for a very long time, and they're fine.
Yeah.
And they're really not that bad. And the fact that you have that game plan, but then all of a sudden, like, a card that actually just wins the game is pretty absurd to me. Like the thing about Galvadon is it's so busted because stealth is a mistake and this card gets it. So like the main problem with Pants is that normally Paladin was just worse at fighting for the board than other classes after mini bot muster rotated out. So when they kill your stuff, you don't have stuff to buff. But with Galvadon, since you have that quest every game, it's okay to be buffing your stuff from a losing board position. Like if I've lost board control, I can still just like hero power and buff my guy with like 1 mana Divine Shield and like 1 mana Blessing. And then all of a sudden, with those 2 cards being played, my quest pops, and next turn I play Galvadon, and my opponent's just dead. Like, who cares if I don't have board control for a couple turns? I think like when the payoff is win the game or something similar to win the game, I think this quest is like a lot better than it looks, and they're even adding some actual 2-drops and 1-drops to the deck. Like the Hydrologist is such a big deal. It's such a big deal. Like Paladin just never had a 2-drop, so since Minibot rotated out. So that's a huge deal that we get Hydrologist now. You have Lost in the Jungle. You can just play Knife Juggler anyway as like a 2-drop if you want and play that with Lost. It's this deck looks solid to me, you know, even without seeing any more buffs being released yet.
Really?
And if there's one more cheap one, I think it's a fine deck.
And so, okay, this is interesting because I had like the opposite reaction to this, which was, I mean, I agree that Galvadon's strong. And let's clear up one thing for, I guess, folks listening about adapting multiple times. The question about can you stack adapts or can you get repeat adapts? And, you know, I guess what is the answer to that? Just I'm not even sure I know 100%.
Yes, it is.
You can, right? Okay.
You won't be getting offered, do you want 3 attack, 3 attack, or 3 attack? But you can be offered 3 attack on 5 different like selections of 3 cards or 3 adaptation.
Okay, so it's possible that an adapt. Is it possible for an adapt?
It can be a 14-5 stealth Wind Fury.
Okay.
Like it can be a 14-5 stealth Wind Fury on its own.
Yeah.
Now you have to high roll like a motherfucker, but you know you can get there.
That's true. Yeah.
And I feel like people are really undervaluing. I mean, again, we just got a reveal for another buff for Paladin, but I think people are undervaluing just how good like the quest makes the Pans deck, as Reynad called it, an old Magic term I never thought I'd hear again. It's one of those decks that's just, I think it's on the cusp. It's always been like on the cusp, but there's never been a good, like a broken enough reason to play it. And that's always been the problem with Hearthstone decks. You have all these cool things, but it's never broken enough to make it. And if Galvadon is consistently coming out, you know, on turn 10, and you can thin your deck with small time recruits, thin your deck so you get more buffs. I don't know what the general consensus is going to be on the way you build the deck, but if you can consistently have stuff on board and slow down the aggression and get the 6 buff, I think this deck is fine. And the 6-drop buff that they've added, the Spiker's Steed, is absolutely insane. You know, 6 mana, you give a minion +2/+6 and taunt, so you stall a lot. And when the minion dies, you summon a 2/6, a Stegodon. I mean, that's like Sludge Belcher level insanities. Yeah, it's got taunt as well. So this is like 12, like a 4/12 worth of stats of taunt with taunt, or 2/12. It's completely bonkers, I think, for a defensive tool. Now, is it gonna be played? That's another story. Do you get hexed? Yes, but the question is, if the Pens deck is alive, you know, this is probably gonna be one of those mid-game tools that lets it get there.
Okay, so let's take a look at the buffs, because I actually created a graphic with just some of the buffs, or the majority of the buffs that are in Paladin. On top of that, you know, the six spell that you just mentioned. So what are the most likely candidates of running into this kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, pants Paladin? You know, into the Galvadon.
I think
I can't hear you, Ray. You're muted.
Is Blessing of Wisdom in Classic, or what's that?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's in Classic. Mm-hmm. It's an undervalued. That's an underrated card, I think, in a way. I mean, people
really strong.
Yeah, people have rarely played it, but every time I've tried to do cool things with it, it's been surprisingly versatile and cool. You can do some cool things even to your opponent's minions with it. So yeah, which one of these would you play? Like, I think Bananas is an interesting option with maybe Mukla. Divine Strength?
Surprised you have Holy Light on here and not Blessing of Might.
Oh, Blessing of Might wasn't. Oh crap! Yeah, you're right. Blessing of Might is an obvious one. That's an obvious one, right? Yeah.
Is Seal rotating out?
I think it is. I think Sealed is rotating out. That's why I didn't.
Seal of Champions? Oh, maybe it's in TGT. Oh man, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't include that
No,
one.
not like this.
And we need
Well,
6, right? 6 isn't. Yeah, 6 isn't too bad actually.
yeah, I mean the ones you play are all the 1-mana ones, I think for sure.
Yeah.
And then the monkey. So
Okay.
that's 9 buffs already.
Yeah, God, that's a lot. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, plus blessings. It's actually 11.
Yeah.
So
Holy crap. Yeah.
yeah, it's like over a third of your deck. It's a good amount. And the deck's curve would be low enough that you can definitely build it in a divine favor package. Your early drops that you're buffing are like, oh crap, the egg's rotating out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The runic egg?
No,
No,
the
the
dragon.
playable one.
The dragon
The
egg,
dragon
yeah, the
egg,
dragon
yeah.
egg is rotating out. That's the problem. Like I don't have any idea for 1-drops I want to pull out with small time or divine favor right now.
Well,
so
you can do Seeker Keeper because now you have the Dark
okay.
Peddler card.
Okay.
Sure, and you play the quest sometime in the mid game and then start buffing later.
Yeah, this might have to be like I built a Pants deck once that was an Arcane Giant shell.
Oh, I like
It
that
was,
idea.
It was
That's
mostly
cool.
spells anyway,
Wow.
and they're all
Okay.
really cheap. So I think that might be the way to go. Point is, there's a lot of flexibility and there's a lot of ways to build it, but like the early drops have to be there to support it. So we just need something like it's not. People keep harping on like, are the buffs good enough? Like the buffs aren't the problem. There's plenty of good buffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is like, what are you putting these buffs on? You know, there's no Nerubian Egg, which would be again perfect. So you're buffing like Lost in the Jungle tokens and Hydrologist and Secret Keeper if you're putting a secret package in. So the question really is, will Blizzard put some buffable dudes into Ungoro that we don't have right now?
Oh wait, we have the 1-mana 1/2 that when it dies with higher strength draws you a card, right? That's another 1-drop.
Oh yeah, that
yeah.
was good.
The Marshal. I completely forgot about that
Yeah, the
guy, even though he
Marshal
was
from
my
last
favorite from Mean Streets.
Yeah, buffed
that,
with
that's
that
actually
guy.
a good
Yeah,
fit
that
for
makes sense.
1-drops.
That's true.
And maybe the new Elemental guy, the 1/2 for 1. That
Yeah.
card's
The Anomaly?
okay. Yeah, you can also just do like Pirates.
Pirates. I
You
was
know,
gonna say that too. Yeah.
Arcane Anomaly with Argent Squires and the Mean Street Marshal gives you a decent like 1-drop base.
Yeah, Anomaly was in the Arcane Giant list I had.
That's good.
Yeah, they're okay. You kind of need coin for Anomaly to be good, but yeah, it's definitely playable.
Yeah, the 2-drop again, as you said, the Hydrologist. Like people, I've heard a lot of people actually complain about the card. Like, oh, this is a bad 2-drop. Thanks, Blizzard. I'm like, no, this is a 2-drop. It's a good card. Like people,
you
are
get an
complaining
additional
for no
card.
reason.
Period. You know, it's
flexible too. Ish.
It creates a new card. You don't actually have to run a secret, which is a big deal too.
Hydrologist is exceptional. It's like an 8 out of 10 card. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah,
okay.
I think the oh crap, what was I gonna say? I was thinking about early game minions.
You're
There's
talking about the
one more.
1/2, the Elemental,
The Pirates?
no, no.
Pirates?
Natpegel, I think is really good in his deck.
That
I always play him.
bagel, man. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because
Okay.
he has enough health that he usually survives turn 2, and then like he doesn't die to Jade Claw or whatever, and then you can as soon as you buff him up, he snowballs really hard. So
yeah.
what you really need in this deck is like something that lives for 1 turn,
Great.
and that card provides that.
Man,
Yeah, we're
okay, now you got me a
missing
lot
Seal
more
Champions
interested.
then.
You got me a
That's
lot
a
more
bummer.
interested. True Silver. What'd you say? True Silver Champion?
We're missing Seal of Champions for Nat, man.
yeah.
That curve has got to be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got me a lot more excited about this then. I
It's
wasn't.
cool.
I mean, I love Galvadon, but I was just a bit disappointed when I first heard the quest because I didn't think Galvadon would be as possible. But now that you guys are talking about, just this Pants archetype and just some of the choices that we can put stuff on, that's pretty cool. Just kind of round things off, we got one last minion that was released, I think, yesterday. It's 4 mana, 3/4 beast, battle cry, adapt your Silverhand recruits, and it's Light Fused Stegodon. And I actually thought it was going to be a Silverhand recruit quest because of this and because of Lost in Jungle, but they obviously surprised us with this casting spell on your minions. So there's some synergy with Silverhand recruits too. That's kind of good. I don't know if it's going to fall in line with this, but maybe with the Tarim, the legendary that was announced before, maybe you could do something with that. Okay, let's move on to the Hunter cards, which I just added to notes, guys. I didn't realize it wasn't on there until just now, but I'm sure you guys have seen all the Hunter cards. All right, we got a lot of them here. And
They're
I
kind
think
of like all the same. like
yeah.
one big thing.
Yeah, it's Hunter obviously has been one of the worst classes. Just the last maybe the last year. I mean, definitely the last half year, and the last expansion didn't really help too much with that. But they seem to be adding a bunch of help, at least in terms of Hunter and what they need. But why don't we start with the quest? Because I think the quest kind of leads into a lot of these other minions here. The quest is the Marsh Queen. It's a place 7 1-cost minions, and reward is Queen Carnassa. And Carnassa is a 5 mana 8/8, just like all the others. Shuffle 15 raptors into your deck, and they're not random raptors, guys. They're specific raptors, which are called Carnassa's Brood. And these are 1 mana 3/2 beasts that have a battle cry of draw a card. So potentially like an engine that just keeps on coming, like you just can keep on drawing these things potentially at the end of a game. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this, Ray?
The quest is probably the strongest one, I would say. Is what that's the impression I get. I mean, the Paladin one might be stronger actually, but this one's pretty good.
Okay.
It doesn't just win the game like the Paladin one, but it's a really powerful payoff, and it's a really easy condition to meet. So I think we're really going to need like at least one more playable 1-drop from the new expansion to really make me 100% sold on this, because I think like cards like Small Raptor specifically, I think is unplayable and just isn't even in contention for this deck. But it's an easy condition to meet.
Okay.
You don't have to play bad cards, and yeah, I think it's a really powerful quest.
All right,
Yeah.
Noxious, first thoughts on it.
Yeah, I guess the quest, is kind of, there's so many ways to build it based, because we saw the first card that had to do with this quest be the 12-year Warden, 5 mana 3/5. You draw 2 1-cost minions from your deck.
Yeah.
That's one way you can build the deck, or you can accelerate it by just jamming a bunch of 1-cost minions in your deck, right? Like there's 2 approaches to it. Either you go all in on the 1-drops and hope the Queen Carnassa carries you, or you just go with the 12-year Warden slow-paced deck. And I don't know if the 1-drops are there yet. Like we've got Alley Cat, we've got Fiery Bat that are staying around. Those are good. Then I look at Argent Squire maybe, and then Small Raptor just seems weird. That card is terrible. 1 mana 2/1. Like initially when I saw it, I was like, okay, cool. Maybe this is a fit for the early beast stuff that you want to adapt with the Crackling Razor Maw. It's a 2 mana 3/2 that does that as well. Adapts a friendly beast, so you can curve 1 into 2. But I mean, a 1 mana 2/1 that does nothing on board is horrible, and it also interrupts the cycle from Queen Carnassa's Brood, because that's what you want to end up doing, is just drawing all of them. I don't know. I really don't know if this quest is as good as Race seems to think it is. I don't know if it's quick enough to get the game closed off.
Well, so I think
that's
there
just
are
weird.
a couple things that need to be working, for this type of deck to be able to be successful. And one of them is an issue that we've had with Hunter for a long time, or at least it might not have been a major issue given that it had so much tempo, is card draw. Like we run out of cards so really quickly, and if this quest is to play 1-drops, we're going to run out of cards even faster. So that's why it surprised me when you said Small Raptor is just not a consideration. Just
Firefly is better than
Firefly.
it, right?
Okay,
Like,
Firefly.
For
Okay.
instance, yeah, you're getting 2 1-drops in 1 card.
Okay. All right. That's true. That's a good point. The Torvir Warden helps out too with it. So I'm happy to see cards like that. But does this, I guess, with this quest generally, guys, like, does it fix some issues with Hunter right now? Which I would say some of the issues, just bringing up a few, is the cards are just not as powerful as some of the classes, especially in that 2, 3, and 4 drop range. And the end game tempo too. It's just not quite as strong as some of the others. Does it fix this, Ray?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I have a question. Hopefully, it's not too dumb of a question.
No.
But like, does Alley Cat count as playing 2 minions for Marsh Queen?
No, it's only 1.
It's 1 because it summons. It's not an actual play.
All right, it's the same thing with patches, right? It doesn't count.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I mean, Hunter needs a lot of help. I don't know.
That's what I mean. It's like, does this actually help? Or are we just going to be like, oh, these are great, but Hunter still sucks?
I'm just thinking about every single curve that this deck could have. And what do you do against Jade Claw Males from Portal? Like, it's unbeatable, right? You can't.
Yeah,
Well, you can go like
Well,
because
you
always
could.
rotating out, right? So you go turn 1 quest, and turn 2 you go, I don't know, fire, like the little firefly guy into Argent Squire. Sure, you're behind, over 2 turns, but then you jam 3 1-drops on turn 3, and then you have to wait maybe like an extra turn to do it. If you play nothing but 1-drops, clearly,
Yeah, on the bright side,
almost.
patches will count for me too, since I'll be playing it from hand. This is it's not bad. I mean,
Uh,
I don't know.
I
I
like
think
the I like the optimism.
oh, dude.
Oh, the good
I,
shit.
I think the 2-drop is really strong. Crackling Razor
Yeah.
Maw, like that card's
Yeah, that's a
absolutely
good one.
powerful. And
Mhm.
yeah, overall, is this enough to help Hunter? Not if this is all it gets, then no. But I'm sure Hunter has more coming, and there's a lot of cards in the expansion we haven't seen yet. So yeah.
Well, they don't have. There's not that many left. I mean, there's like 4 cards left for Hunter. Given
That
that
could
they've
change
announced quite a
everything.
bit.
Like
Well,
Yeah,
we might be
neutrals
getting
matter a
something
lot.
insane.
yeah.
Like
Neutrals
for
do.
example, I think you play the elemental guy 100%, the 1 2
Yeah.
for 1.
Yeah.
So
1, 2 for 1. Yeah.
overall, this is really, I don't know, man. I'm optimistic. Hunter still
It's
has the best hero power in the game, basically, like overall, and it's
well, it's
yeah.
okay. So it's one of these things. I think with Hunter is that it's not going to get early tempo. So yeah, the hero power is great, but the hero powers it's always had a lot to do with just having tempo and in a position to finish them at a relatively quick pace. That's been the problem. We got cool cards like Kodo, we got cool cards like Rat Pack and things like that. It's just it's not fast enough, or at least it wasn't fast enough in the past to be able to keep up with all these top tier decks, and classes. So does this? I don't think any of these things help with it either. I don't think they're gonna. They have like a super powerful 3-drop or a 4-drop that helps them catch up, and then the quest isn't necessarily an immediate finisher. It might be with like a Tundra Rhino or something like that the following turn, but
They don't need that really. Like
you don't think
unless they've
so?
got
Okay.
75 board clears, at some point they're just taking 15 damage a turn. Like it goes by really quick, and the hunter
Okay.
hero power scales so well that if they're down to 20, you're basically just clocking them right away as they defend against the onslaught of 3/2s. Like
But are
I'm
you
not
getting
worried
them down to
about.
20? Like,
Say what?
are you getting them down to 20 though with some of the?
By 20.
Oh, by
Yeah,
20.
I
Oh,
think you
by
are.
20.
If you're jamming
Mhm.
Carnessa on 5 into like cycle,
Mhm.
I think a lot of the time you would be.
Okay.
So
We're losing quick shot, right?
Yeah, losing quick
that's a big
shot.
deal.
That's a big.
Yeah,
Big
that
one.
does suck. And there's a bit more incidental life gain in the game now, like with the shaman legendary for elementals. It's I don't know. I'm optimistic. I think Hunter will be in a better spot than it was before overall. I think the patches nerf helps Hunter a lot, and
Mhm.
I think Hunter wasn't as bad as people think it is. It just like if Hunter had Glaive Zuka, it would have been a tier 1 deck. So it's like the difference of one card, really
We still have
make
4 cards. They could still give us
uh,
a 2-drop weapon. That
if the class had like Argent Lance, that's all it would take,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not fancy.
seriously.
Yeah. We need a beast clause. 2 mana, 2/2
Beast
summons a 1/1 cat.
A cat, yeah, or a raptor or something like that. All right, we've got Mage and Druids at the very end here. These are the last few cards that we have. We've gotten through these pretty quickly. Man, this has been good. I put these together just because there weren't too many. We had a new Druid card come out late last night, which, man, good stuff. I'd start with the Mage one. It's a spell, 3 mana, rare mana bind is the name. It's a secret, so a new secret. When your opponent casts a spell, add a copy to your hand that costs 0 mana. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that's been announced with Mage has been secret related, with Arcanologist and some of the other cards too. I just split in my mind. So is this a secret that you think will be something that's playable in terms of adding to that portfolio of secrets, Ray?
I do. It's some people said it looked kind of bad, but I think it's definitely playable in some world. I think there's just so much secret synergy at this point that you really have to consider cards like this. It always 1-for-1s. The only thing about it that's a little bit awkward is Cabal Lackey. Like,
Yeah.
Cabal Lackey is a card you're going to be playing in your more aggressive secret decks, and Cabal and Mana Bind is also one of the secrets that you want to keep in your opening hand. But let's picture that we get to a metagame where you queue against Jaina and you know that Jaina is playing the secret tempo deck or whatever. In your deck, probably has a quest in it, or a lot of the decks will. So do you just like never play your quest until you see a secret from them? Is there like this interesting metagaming thing where you like bait the I'm not describing this very well,
I
but
know
you
what
know what
you
I
mean.
mean.
I know what you're talking about.
Like you
Right.
really don't want to mana bind a secret because you'll
Right.
lose the game, and your opponent will know that. And like this card alone might make me use stream delay for every stream once Aurora is out. Like, because then you can bluff on the
Yeah.
first secret, right?
Yeah.
The thing with Cabal Lackey is like you want to keep your secrets once you have the Lackey, and this is one of the few that you're good to play early. Like you don't want to play Mirror Entity early because you copy garbage.
Yep.
And Mana Bind, well, it's copying, it's okay, but yeah, Mana Bind's like actually a good one because it 1-for-1s always. So yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean, you can get the
interesting.
coin, right?
I think
that's
what's
bad.
what's really weird
Yeah.
about the card is like just like it's got in the crossfire of Counterspell and Spellbender, right? Where they
Yeah,
play around
sure.
something to give you a garbage spell to open the sequence. They go like, all right, crappy spell, and then to check for Counterspell, and so you get a crappy spell in return. That's my only worry about the card. Is
Yeah,
that
but countering a
put
crappy
both at the
spell,
same time.
like if you counter a spell that you don't want to counter, like your secret is basically worthless. But this
Right.
gives you their crappy spell, and
Yep.
Mage is a deck that can do a whole lot with crappy
Mhm,
spells.
that's
So
true.
the fact that you can just play Antonitis on curve and then your mana bind spell is like a really big deal. So I think like overall,
Okay.
getting a crappy spell is better than countering a crappy spell.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, there, like you said, Antonitis, Mana Worm, and there are definitely some synergistic. It's a 0 spell. it's just good a lot of times. It's interesting that you said that playing it early is better. I was thinking that you'd want to play this later just so you can get some value from it.
Yeah, later's good too. I just
Mm.
mean like I've played those secret mage tempo decks, and there's like some secrets that you do want to keep early off your Cabal Lackey, and there's some that you don't. Like if you have Cabal Lackey and your deck has like Ice Barrier, or Ice Block, or whatever, those aren't really things you want early. Whereas like something like Mana Bind is fine, or like if you already have like Coin plus Kirin Tor Mage, then you can keep Mana Bind, for example, but you wouldn't keep every secret in that scenario. Not all of them are necessarily good. It just depends on what's in your deck, really.
Okay. So you think the secret mage is already there, like just good enough with what you've seen, or do you still need some work?
I mean, the 2-drop is broken.
Yeah, the Arcanologist.
Yeah, that card's beyond busted. That might be the strongest card they revealed in the expansion, but Mana Bind is like, it helps. I think you play it, but they need like a really strong secret, like duplicate level strong.
Yeah,
I think that would really
feel like
push it
that's
over
the
the top.
missing one. Yeah, just some kind of value based or card value based one. Okay.
Effigy.
Effigy. Oh, Effigy is so terrible right now. Gosh, people still trying to play that every once in a while. Okay, so Druid spells and new cards here. We've got 5 mana Living Mana. It's an epic card. Transform your mana crystals into 2/2 minions. Recover the mana when they die. So very new concept, or maybe not completely new because we saw a little bit of it with the Darnassus Aspirant, but in the form of a spell and just the extent of it, this is very cool. It's a different type of Druid too. It's not Jade. So what are your initial thoughts on that, Ray?
My initial thoughts are just a bunch of rules questions. How does it work? Like if I double innervate it, what happens? I get a 2/2 on turn 1?
If you double innervate it on turn 1, you get a single 2/2, I believe.
And then my crystal
is gone.
just
So
dies.
you'd get one again.
So
the
what
following
happens
turn.
next turn?
You'd have
I
one
get a
again.
crystal next turn, or do I get a dude next turn?
Oh, the next turn you get a crystal. Like you just
Okay,
wait. So you have
it's
a 2. So you have a 2/2 on the board. I should have showed the 2/2. I think. Let me see if I can snag that real quick. The 2/2 is a treant that has Death Rattle. Add a crystal to back to your
okay.
mana.
I understand.
Yeah. So you still get crystals like you normally do.
And
It's just
since it says transform your mana crystals,
yeah.
does that mean they're unaffected by summoning sickness? Because there's no way they have charge. You would just 14 your opponent every game.
Yeah, they don't have charge. That's for sure. That would be horrible. That'd be horribly broken.
I mean, the mana crystal is already in play for a turn, so only one of them should be summoning sick. But
yeah, okay.
Like in Magic, there's effects like this. This is actually, this card is literally a ripoff of Rude Awakening.
Rude Awakening is
But yeah, Rude Awakening let you attack right away with the dudes.
Oh, I see.
Because the lands were already in play and you're transforming them. But
Okay.
yeah, this is interesting. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think it's something you'd be playing in the beginning of a game. It's more like a little bit later. Um, so
yeah.
so one thing I did find out, since we're talking about rules, is that unlike some of the forbidden card or forbidden healing in particular, it does protect you against spending all your crystals for nothing, type of thing. Where so if you only have like 2 slots open, it'll only spend like twice. You know what I mean? Like if you actually
Okay,
play living
yeah.
mana, it only does it
Do you know
twice.
that for sure? Because it doesn't say, like, it doesn't
Yeah,
stop.
somebody in my my Discord, was told me that last night. So
Okay, great. That's nice
yeah,
to know.
they linked something too. So I think it was from one of the Blizzard folks.
Yeah.
So I kind of disappointed. I actually wanted there to be possible like error prone situations just for fun videos
Devolve
and
is
stuff like
enough
that.
to nullify Galvadon in this, dude. If Devolve
Yeah.
is played because
Yeah.
Galvadon is good, this is just dead in the water. Like, this is never a thing you risk. If you know what I mean, like, there's so many ways in which this goes wrong. I mean, hell, you could
don't know.
master spell Galvadon in Priest, right, and be like, oh, I'm happy
Yeah.
here.
But you have to play Master Spell. Like, the priest actually has to play Master Spell.
Yeah,
Which
sure.
it might
the
be. I know
biggest-
if Galvadon's too strong, then maybe it does. Yeah, and it's possible.
It depends what it comes down to, anyway.
Yeah, Ray, you're about to say
I
something.
think the biggest thing that counters living mana is Jade Idol, because you would just right. You would just rather play a good deck. I mean,
It's a self-defeated.
Come on, man, really?
This is bad 5-cost card. I could play 17/17s instead.
So
I mean, you could play this in the Jade Druid deck, I guess. It's like Plan B. That's interesting. That's a cool deck.
okay. So I'm much more bullish about this and just the Druid flooding archetype. I mean, I've always been a fan of the flooding archetype. So things like Egg Druid, Jackie's Egg Druid, and Token Druid in the past, and things like that. Just the ability to fill a board. And in the past, we only had Savage Roar. Now we have even Evolving Spores, which is this other card that we have here. It's a 4-mana adapt your minions. You're just having multiple minions on the board. Yeah, you're going to take a hit with the mana crystals, and you might actually never get those crystals back given the possibilities. But as long as it's not like you're playing 7 of them, and you're down to 3, it's not too bad. I mean, if you can get 3, let's say you have 10 mana and you get 3 2/2s on the board. And then your options after that are Soul the Forest. Like let's just say you have 7 things on the board after you plus living mana. Then all of a sudden you have Soul the Forest. And then the following turn you have options for Savage Roar or 2 Evolving Spores or any of those kind of combinations. I know it's pie in the sky type of stuff, but
No, it's not pie in the
No,
sky.
it's not
I
pie in the
think,
sky at
I think
all.
it's definitely exciting. I think it
Mhm.
would have been really cool if Blizzard made a 5-mana Druid card that gave you 3 2/2s before this, so we could see whether it would be good enough for constructed or not. But I don't know. It's or maybe like a neutral one that you could like buff with hand effects.
Yeah, I've
the
never
same
seen
thing.
that card before. Like if you could run
God.
4 copies of it, then it's more consistent. So suddenly you can consistently get it done. with
Sure.
Savage
I mean,
Roar.
okay, all right. If it's 3, okay, I get y'all's point. But if I mean, you have potential to do more though here. Even if you just want to run Savage Roar, you could actually just go all in and say, I'm just gonna put 7 2/2s on the board. Hope I can Savage Roar enough of them to kill you.
I'm down with that. I mean, because it's
Yeah.
more than 3 2/2s. So like, I'm okay
Yeah.
with the idea of I put this as a one of in my deck that contains Savage Roar for my late game. I'm completely out of options. Jam this.
Mhm.
But again, you have to be not playing Jade Druid, which that's the question.
I think if I played this card, and it is an interesting card, it would be like more like aggro Druid deck.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
like token oriented one, right? And then they kill your stuff, but they only have like one dude in play, and you just all in with 6 2/2s. Yeah, that could be interesting, right? It enables your Savage Roars and everything. I mean, it's cheesy. It could be good. I don't know. It's a cool card, and I'm glad that they made something that's like interesting, and I hope that they port more unique magic effects into the game. This card is like weird enough that it's not the kind of thing I would have expected Blizzard to ever make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to experiment with it.
That's one of the I think that was one of the few first cards we saw, and I'm just like, that was the point where, not one of the first few, but it came afterwards, and that's the point where I went from, oh, this expansion is going to be just another Snorefest of Hearthstone, to holy crap, look at that mechanic. Maybe they're experimenting with stuff, and then we've been getting some interesting stuff since. in terms of card design, and I'm just hoping the rest of the expansion is just as creative because at the very least, this is something that makes me want to build a deck and find
Yeah.
where to put it. You know, at the very least, it does that, which isn't the case with every card. So
I haven't, yeah, with I think both of these cards, it makes me want to try something that's not Jade Druid, which
right,
I think
exactly.
is mission accomplished at least to some degree. Now it's a matter of whether it's viable or not. And I think Evolving Spores, I don't know, it's one of those things where I feel like the fact that you can get Wind Fury just from an adapt just gives finishing
Permanent
options.
bloodlust.
There's a lot of
Anyone?
different ways, and the fact you can run two of these too,
Yeah.
it's potential for some interesting situations with Beast Druid or just maybe even Jade. I don't even know, but the fact that you can possibly get Wind Fury is like an enhancement. You know, remember back in the day the Zoo enhancement mechanic? I know Ray remembers that day. Like you can have those kind of just finishes, you know, out of nowhere, and just playing whatever deck. You know, and that's kind of what this card allows you to do. Adapting multiple minions, like that one that does multiple Murlocs into, I feel like it's potentially broken, like these type of cards when you're talking about adapt. So I'm interested to see if this is one of those cards. I feel like there's a chance that this card could be crazy good for Druid. Just we're not, you know, it's not completely clear as to what it is, but it has potential to be crazy good. So I think the Druid is. I think we're coming on like another era of Druid. Is what I'm thinking is about to happen. But we'll have to see how the finishers for all the other.
I mean, I'm
classes
down
are.
to adapt my Jades. You know, I'll take +3 health on a 7/7. You know, like you can basically that's the insane part is you can actually give Divine Shield to a wide board, Wind Fury +3 attack. Like there's like 60% of the buffs are fine. Like give them stealth to another turn, it's effectively Wind Fury in some respects. It's like you're concealing the board. I
mean,
think
if you
that's like a lot of the effects are just good.
Yeah. Conceal's good. I mean, I think when you're at the Jade part where your Jade golems are huge, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
It
that's an
doesn't even
exaggeration,
matter,
but
right?
yeah.
Yeah. But maybe if you could adapt, I don't know, a 5/4, maybe you're playing Warden, you know, like a Beast Druid, you just have 2 minions and all of a sudden you do 20 damage. It's like, it's over. It's like literally over on, I don't know what turn that is, turn 8 or something like that. It's possible that it could be that good. Where we only saw that with Savage Roar. This is more flexible that way. Okay, well, any last comments, you guys, on Druid or these cards? Ray?
No, I mean, I'm good. I mean, I think Evolving Spores is like, yeah, just got to compare it to Soul of the Forest.
Really? Okay.
It's probably a little bit better. Just because you might be able to kill him that turn. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Cool cards.
Yeah, definitely. I think overall I've been just happy with what we've been seeing coming out. I don't know if it's going to initially change power levels as much, but it potentially could, which is I think enough for me to have been very pleased and just seeing some of the things that they're trying. You know, it's very clear that they're trying stuff now, and I think that's good. Noxious, how about you? Just generally with the largest, you know, like I know we've been all kind of like, oh man, I wish they would do this, or I wish they would do that, and one of the reasons why Mech Torque's always fun here.
No, I'm really happy with the design of the cars in general. But I want to see what the entire expansion looks like before we make an evaluation, because it might turn out that things are just not where we think they're going at all. That's always the case, it seems, with expansions. One of the things I'm noticing about Hearthstone, though, it's going like I feel like the game has a lot of those like stuff like the adapt mechanic giving Wind Fury to random stuff like that is double strike level game ending, and there's a lot more of that type of gameplay coming in where the guy gets a 4-drop and he plays something, the 4-drop gets big and it single-handedly kills you. Like that's not to say that didn't happen before, because 4-mana 7/7s were a thing, but I feel like we're getting into the bursty, like the accepted, those plays are accepted, bursty onboard cards that just you can't handle and just kills you over 2 turns on its own or 1 turn. And I don't mind that necessarily. I think I like it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm happy that Adapt has stealth as an option yet. But
stealth.
We'll see.
I think stealth and Wind Fury are the two that I question the most with Adapt, just because
like they didn't put charge on any of them, right?
Thank God.
Like, no,
like they see a problem in charge, right?
Yeah.
Stealth is the same level. Like, I don't know. That's like slightly less bad, but it's still pretty bad. So I don't know. We'll see. Oh, I don't know. optimistic about the Paladin thing. And honestly, I can't really, with the amount of cards spoiled so far, it's hard to say what decks exactly will be good. That'll take some time to figure out.
Yeah. All right, let's just round things up. Maybe just take one question here. We've got a few, but given that you just said that, maybe not the first one. Well, I wanted to ask the first one. I'll just ask it anyways. Stuart P asks, what? Let's see. Now that we're a week or less from the big release, let's see. What deck archetypes are you guys going to be excited about, and which ones are you going to basically try first? What do you guys think?
Rogue. I'm gonna go Rogue right off the
I
bat,
think
probably. That's where my inclination is, and then probably try to Paladin quest. Like those two to me seem the most complex to build. But I'd also want to try out like some slower Warlock discard deck, not a Zoo, but just on the slower end, trying to make some kind of mid-rangey type deck. We'll see.
Ray?
Yeah, those classes definitely look fun. I want to try to get rank 1 again in the first couple days, so I want to.
So you're not playing Rogue then?
I mean, yeah, I'll probably just play like Zoo or Thrall or. I don't want to play Jade Druid. I want to stream something fun. I think the expansion is actually coming out a couple days before I can stream it, so I'll be flying back into the country. That's gonna kind of suck, but
bummer.
Yeah, I'll play it, as soon as I'm back on that Saturday, and yeah, I guess I'll probably gravitate towards what people have streamed the least of.
It's so hipster, so hipster, man.
That's pretty cool though. Trying to come up with decks instead of just jamming. People will be so cautious too. I'm sure streamers will be different a little bit in that they try to some new stuff, but the ladder will still be infested with Pirate Warrior, like expected, guys. Like if you're thinking this is gonna be a fun expansion release, it will be on your end for deck building purposes, but you might just have your face jammed in. So get your Tar Creepers out and get your Taunt Warriors out. Just get ready because it's gonna happen.
I think Pirate Warrior is gonna be shut down quick with a lot of these taunts.
Okay.
I think it will.
Imagine Jade Druid, 28 cards identical with 2 Tar Creepers.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's actually true though. It's completely true. That's still gonna be tier 1 right there. That's gonna be crazy. I think for me, Rogue and definitely not Priest, which is a bummer for me because I think the whole Priest thing is the most boring thing in this whole set. I think it's gonna be Rogue. It might be Rogue, and I don't know. You guys got me intrigued with the Paladin thing now, so I might be trying the Paladin just because I just need to convince myself this is right. But it should be a lot of fun. I'm definitely excited. It's going to happen in a week now. We're going to have just an accelerated release. There's still 71 cards to be released in the next 4 or 5 days. This is going to be crazy, crazy time. But I can't wait. And obviously next week we'll talk about the rest of those, or at least some of the highlights from the rest of those. But why don't we go into some shout outs? Ray, man, fantastic to have you on. And it's been too long. I know you're so busy with having to run an esports team, man. But it's awesome having you on, buddy.
No, it's good to be on. Yeah. I don't know. Shout out to you guys for running a great show every week. Shout out to TempestStorm.com as always for your wonderful Hearthstone strategy and portable clothing. And yeah, I'm excited to play with the set. Can't wait to do it.
All right. We didn't get a chance to ask you earlier. Any cool news or upcoming news coming for Tempo Storm in the next month or two? Or
Pretty much always, but it's like it's either publicly announced or there's like a reason why it hasn't been publicly announced yet. So
of course.
It's like it's tough for me to. There's a lot of big stuff on the horizon that. I mean, every morning I'm having really key calls. I'm about to get on one in 5 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's wrap up then for you. Noxious?
Yeah, shout out to Complexity as usual. Super JJ just playing Gwent all day. Seems cool, man. I've been playing quite a bit of it myself. It's kind of a refreshing change at times. So.
Yeah, nice. I haven't got a chance to try it out. Everybody's been talking about it, obviously, but I just want to thank you guys. I guess I'll round things out. Thank you guys for doing the show with me today. It's been awesome. All the folks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed just our card talk as always. And if you missed any of it, you can check it out on youtube.com/ChanManV, the VODs. Be there earlier. We've got all the previous shows there too if you missed them. iTunes, if you're a podcast listener, audio podcast, you can find it there. Just search for Value Town or search for Hearthstone. You'll find us. And same with Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, any of those options too. We're there. But also follow the show's Twitter account at ValuetownGG. And that's going to be it, guys. So for Reynad, Noxious, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
There was a woman who was flat and flirtatious, prestigious status, the baddest bitch in the mansion, no matter, she was the one.